Welcome to English literature class, my dear students of class 11. Now I am going to start the chapter number 6, The Chinese Statue by Jeffrey Archer. First of all, you must know about the story. What is about the story? The Chinese Statue is a nicely written, splendid short story. It concerns a tiny statue, the Chinese statue. It concerns a tiny statue made of ivory, which was brought from China to London by Sir Alexander Heathcote. It was brought from China to London by Sir Alexander Heathcote when he served as British ambassador in China. The statue remains in his family for generations. Each of his heirs, servants and army officers alike keep the statue very safely as a family heirloom. Heirloom means a valuable object that has belonged to the same family for many years. So, as a family heirloom, in great glory until the latest descendant of Sir Alexander Heathcote, forced upon very tough times due to reckless gambling, decides to sell the statue. He discovers to his shock that the statue is a fake. Just as in frustration he contemplates suicide, he also finds out that the base of the statue is authentic, genuine, and he makes 22,000 guineas on its sale. That was the outline of the story. Now, you please open page number 59 of your book and read the story. Go through the story. The little Chinese statue was the next item to come under the auctioneer's hammer. Auctioneer's hammer. Auctioning start of the little Chinese statue, which was the next item. There were so many items, but the next item was the little Chinese statue. Lot number 103 caused those quiet murmurings that always precede the sale of a masterpiece. The auctioneer's assistant held the delicate piece of ivory for the packed audience to admire, while the auctioneer glanced around the room to be sure he knew where the serious bidders were seated. I studied my catalogue and read the detailed description of the piece and what was known of its history. The statue had been purchased in Halichuan in 1871 and was referred to as what Sotheby's quaintly, strangely described as the property of a gentleman, usually meaning that some member of the aristocracy did not wish to admit that he was having to sell off one of the family heirlooms. I wondered if that was the case on this occasion and decided to do some research to discover what had caused the little Chinese statue to find its way into the auction room. What happened that the Chinese statue had come into the auction room on that Thursday morning over 100 years later. After 100 years, the statue had come in the auction room to be auctioned. Lot number 103 declared the auctioneer, "What am I bid for this magnificent example of what price should be given for this magnificent, splendid example?" Sir Alexander Heathcote as well as being a gentleman, was an exact man. He was an exact man. He did each and everything perfectly. He was exactly 6'3" and a quarter inches tall. Rose at 7 o'clock every morning, joined his wife at breakfast to eat one boiled egg, cooked for precisely 4 minutes, 2 pieces of toast with 1 spoonful of Cooper's marmalade, a drink, Cooper's marmalade jam, and drink 1 cup of China tea. His daily routine was set by this way. His daily routine was this. He would then take a hackney. Hackney means a carriage pulled by horses. Hackney carriage from his home in Cadogan Gardens at exactly 8:20 and arrive at the Foreign Office at promptly 8:59 exact time, returning home again on the stroke of 6 o'clock. That was his daily routine of Sir Alexander Heathcote. Sir Alexander had been exact from an early age. He was an exact man from his early age, as became the only son of a general, as he was a son of a general. But unlike his father, he chose to serve his queen in the diplomatic service, another exacting calling. He progressed from a shared desk at the Foreign Office in Whitehall to third secretary in Calcutta, to second secretary in Vienna, to first secretary in Rome, to deputy ambassador in Washington, and finally to minister in Peking. He had worked on so many dignified posts. He was delighted when Mr. Gladstone invited him to represent the governor in China, as he had for some considerable time taken more than an amateur. Amateur means doing something for enjoyment. Amateur interest in the art of the Ming dynasty. Mr. Gladstone invited him to represent the government in China, as he had for some considerable time taken more than an amateur. Amateur, I told you already, doing something for enjoyment in the art of the Ming dynasty. This crowning appointment in the distinguished, eminent career would afford him what until then he would have considered impossible, an opportunity to observe in their natural habitat some of the great statues, paintings and drawings which he had previously been able to admire only in books. Alexander Heathcote was a very curious man. He wants to know some observation about each and everything. He got an opportunity to observe to their natural habitat some of the great statues in China, painting, drawing, etc. He had already previously been studied only in books, but not seen with his own eyes. When Sir Alexander arrived in Peking after a journey by sea and land that took his party nearly 2 months, he presented his seals patent to the Empress Zhu Si and a personal letter for her private reading from Queen Victoria. The Empress, dressed from head to toe in white and gold, received her new ambassador in the throne room of the imperial palace. He became ambassador now. She read the letter from the British monarch while Sir Alexander remained standing to attention. Her Imperial Highness revealed nothing of its content to the new minister, only wishing him a successful term of office in his appointment. She then moved her lips slightly up at the corners, which Sir Alexander judged correctly to mean that the audience had come to an end. as he was conducted back through the great halls of the imperial palace by a Mandarin in the long court dress of Mandarin means here interpreter, one who interprets the language. In the long court dress of black and gold, Sir Alexander walked as slowly as possible, taking in the magnificent collection of ivory and jade statues which were scattered casually around the building, much in the way Cellini and Michelangelo today lie stacked against each other in Florence. As his ministerial appointment was for only 3 years, Alexander Heathcote was appointed as an ambassador only for 3 years. Sir Alexander took no leave but preferred to use his time to put the embassy behind him and travel on horseback into the outlying districts to learn more about the country and its people. As I told you already, he was very curious to know about the custom, about the habit of the people of the China. So he used to travel on horseback to know about the people. On these trips, he was always accompanied by a Mandarin from the palace staff who acted as interpreter and guide. On one such journey, passing through the muddy streets of a small village with but a few houses called Ha Li Chuan, a distance of some 50 miles from Peking, Sir Alexander chanced upon an old craftsman working place. And there was an old craftsman working place. Leaving his servants, the minister dismounted from his horse, got up from the horse, and entered the ramshackle. Ramshackle means here poorly maintained wooden workshop to admire the delicate pieces of ivory and jade. Jade is also hard green stone that crammed means press the shelves from floor to ceiling. Although modern, the pieces were superbly executed by an experienced craftsman, and the minister entered the little hut with the thought of acquiring a small memento of his journey. Once in the shop, he could hardly move in any direction. It was very small, for fear of knocking something over. The building had not been designed for a 6'3" visitor. Sir Alexander stood still and enthralled, captivated, taking in the fine scented jasmine smell that hung in the air. An old craftsman bustled forward in a long blue coolie robe and flat black hat to greet him. A jet black plaited pigtail fell down his back. He bowed very low and then looked up at the giant from England. The minister returned the bow while the Mandarin explained who Sir Alexander was and his desire to be allowed to look at the work of craftsmen. The Mandarin explained that Sir Alexander Heathcote has come here to look at the work of the craftsman. The old man was nodding his agreement. He has given the permission before the Mandarin had come to end of his request. For over an hour, the minister sighed and chuckled, smiled, laughed as he studied many of the pieces with admiration and finally returned to the old man to praise his skill. The craftsman bowed once again and his shy smile revealed no teeth but only genuine pleasure and Sir Alexander's compliments. Sir Alexander given so many compliments of his work. Pointing a finger to the back of the shop, he beckoned. He called the two important visitors to follow him. They did so and entered a veritable, true Aladdin's cave with row upon row of beautiful miniature, small than normal emperors and classical figures. The minister could have happily settled down in the orgy of ivory for at least a week. So Alexander and the craftsman chatted away to each other through the interpreter, and the minister's love and knowledge of the Ming dynasty was soon revealed. The little craftsman's face lit up with this discovery, and he turned to the Mandarin and in a hushed voice made a request. The Mandarin nodded his agreement and translated. Mandarin, the other meaning of Mandarin, a high government bureaucrat of the Chinese Empire. His work was to interpret the thing, to translate the thing. And what happens after this story? In this story, it will be interpret tomorrow. Thank you so much, students.